So I received a question from a viewer that I wanted to go ahead and answer for you guys. His question was, could you please make a video on your view on martial arts, combat sports, and street fights, if they actually work? And are there people who can fight well without any training? And if there are, why do you think they can? So it's a very good question. First, I'm not a professional fighter. I am a trained fighter. I did train in martial arts when I was younger. I do have a black belt in Taekwondo. And I did do a little bit of boxing. I did do a little bit of other type training. And so in my experience, the answer to your question is twofold. First, with regard to the martial arts and if they're effective in street fights, I don't believe that they are as effective as some people would tend to think. If you train for a long enough time with enough consistency, the goal of martial arts is to be able to react and have movements down so well and so perfectly timed and repeated so many times again that it just comes natural and you react rather than have to think in a fight. So it will help you, definitely more so than being completely untrained. But the issue is that the person you're fighting is not fighting or approaching you in the same fighting style that you're used to training in. And that becomes an issue. So using Taekwondo as an example, I could be the best, champion Taekwondo competitor, but if my only experience is fighting in that one practice, the problem then becomes if I fight in the streets and somebody else doesn't give a fuck about Taekwondo rules or, anything to do with that, he's going to come at me in a way that I'm completely unprepared for. So even though I've trained for over a decade, all that training may not apply in that case. And that applies to most of the martial arts. So the ones that I think are more effective for a street fight, obviously the number one is going to be mixed martial arts. The reason being is it incorporates and includes many disciplines, and it's so well-rounded, meaning ground game, stand-up game. There's so many variables that you could actually use in a street fight. Basically, that is street fighting. You're ready for whatever kind of attack or aggressor may be out there. And so that's going to be the number one, of course. Second to that, I think Muay Thai kickboxing is also one that can really help you in a street fight because it's basically punching and kicking without, and utilizing elbows, of course, and knees as well. But it's just one of those things that is pretty practical with regard to street fighting. And the last is boxing. So boxing also, for obvious reasons, could obviously help you in a street fight. So with regard to if I feel people can fight without any training, that's a good question. And the answer that I give is yes, some people can. And some people just have a natural ability, similar to how people in sports, for example. Some people could be practicing one sport for years, and another may come on the first day that he gives it an attempt. He has the ability to do it and do it better than so many others, than the majority. He has a natural ability. It may sound silly, but it's like dancing. Some people can't dance, and some people, they're able to dance without ever having done it before. Easily. It's natural to them. They don't have to think about it because their body just knows how to do it. And it's the same with fighting. I have seen that, on multiple occasions, people who just know how to fight. I've had, I still have friends to this day. One particular guy, he's like my right-hand man, and this guy could fucking fight. He's not trained in fighting, but he could fight. He could fight, so I don't have to worry about him. Another part about why I think they can takes me to another point where something often not even thought of with regard to fighting and ability is the person's mental state. And what I mean by that is you don't know how far someone is willing to go. And I'll give you an example of how that comes into play. It may sound silly, but, when I was a little kid, probably like 8 years old, the first and only time I could remember that somebody tried to bully me and make a victim of me. I have an older brother, it was one of his friends, and he was just fucking with me. I don't remember what it was. But he got me so upset, I kept telling him to stop, and, the rage just built up in me, and I started crying. I got upset. He kept fucking with me. And so, from his perspective, he's looking at it in one way, but I reacted in another way. I went inside the house and grabbed the fucking butcher knife and came outside screaming and chased that motherfucker around the house And so he was screaming, crying, begging for help. And the reason I say that story is because that man may have been able to physically beat me, or that kid, physically. He may have been a better fighter, but he had no fucking chance when it came to how far I was willing to go. I was ready to kill that motherfucker. So what he thought was a game, to me, was dead fucking serious. And so that's what I mean by, you never know what's in your opponent's heart. You never know that, and you never know how crazy a motherfucker can be. I've seen other people, I've been in fights myself. One in particular where I remember that, this guy was just fucking crazy. What I mean by crazy was he had a crazy ability to take pain and to fight in a way that I'd never seen. He wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't fucking stop. The guy was just psycho. So some people just have fucking craziness that has to be taken into consideration also. And for all these reasons, it's clear that the best advice is to avoid fights. Avoid, if you're not in competition, it's not competitive, just avoid it. Most of the fights that happen, I got in so many fights. When I was little, I used to fight every fucking weekend. Every time I go somewhere, I get in a fight. It would always be the case. In school, I'd fight, and it was just most of the time for nothing. Actually, at that time, it was a little different. There were reasons I was fighting, but now, looking back, and thinking about our current society, it's all garbage. People are not really about fighting. These people are fucking about calling the cops and suing each other if somebody gets hurt. And I had somebody lose a fight with me, real bad, real fucking bad, and try to sue me for millions and millions of dollars. So, and this was a long time ago. So things are different, and fighting is just something to generally be avoided, and especially because of what I said. You never know who the fuck you're going to come up against. And you never know what that person's training is, what their ability in actual fighting skill set is. And you also never know how crazy that motherfucker may be. That motherfucker may not be looking to fight on the terms that you're thinking, and yeah, we're going to fist fight, and that's it. At the end of the day, it's going to be over. He may not be thinking like that. He may be thinking, no matter what the fuck happens, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to kill you. So if you beat me with my fists, I'm going to fucking stab you. And so that's a reality that a lot of people don't know, but there are crazy people out there. So just be cautious, and I hope I answered the question well. Thanks.